And we're here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I'm Stuart, Prevention Coordinator for the agency. And January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So with me in the podcast space today, I have Emma Skinner. She is our sexual assault client services advocate. And Brittany Newman, our legal advocate, or one of our legal advocates. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So my first question is going to be to Emma. How come you can't have a nice, simple little title instead of, one that's 5 words long?
Trust me, I've asked the same question a million times myself. It's a mouthful.
So I do appreciate it, and hats off to Brittany. Okay, Brittany was not originally going to be on here. It was going to have another Mallory on here, but Mallory couldn't make it. So Brittany got called up to the plate, even unbeknownst to me until I got here.
I was literally just thrown in here.
And but Brittany is our legal advocate in Houston County, but we're going to be talking about human trafficking in East Texas. And I guess the first thing I do want to talk about is, and I know we've mentioned this before, but it seems like a lot of times there's some confusion when we talk about human trafficking versus human smuggling. Sometimes in error, those terms are used together, or they're being interchanged. What's the difference between trafficking and smuggling?
Well, smuggling, people usually agree to. It's usually about just movement, like across a border. Usually once that movement happens, though, and they get to their destination, that usually stops, whereas trafficking is more about the abuse and control aspect of everything. They're being forced to do it, exploited. It's usually just about the control and abuse of that situation.
Okay.
And it doesn't stop once something is accomplished. It just continues. So
smuggling is kind of like a one and done deal, I guess. The person smuggled, that smuggling has happened, and that's it. Where I guess maybe trafficking, it's an ongoing situation. Well, how big is the issue here in East Texas? And again, some people, I think when we think of trafficking, that's a Houston thing, a Dallas thing, a big metropolitan problem. But how does it affect us here in East Texas?
So trafficking is extremely underreported. It's hard to recognize. It's hard for a lot of survivors to even identify that this is something that they are victims of this. So here in East Texas, it's extremely underreported, but it happens here too. Texas as a whole is one of I think they have some of the highest numbers in the country for trafficking cases. Like you said, Dallas, Houston, Austin, those big cities, the highways that connect them make it easy to move trafficking victims.
Okay, I was going to ask you why Texas, but I guess that's...
just the sheer amount of people we have here, the giant cities that we have, with Houston being such a large city. But most importantly, they're all connected. The highways make it really easy to move people. And that's one of the biggest parts of trafficking. The numbers here in East Texas aren't really accurate because it is so underreported here. But especially with new organizations like Unbound Now coming to Lufkin, Nacogdoches, the Piney Woods, those numbers are being reported more, which is important because if it's being reported, then we can learn more about it and then give survivors better services, meet their needs more.
Why do you think it is underreported? Are people they don't want to report, or there's no one to report to?
Our law enforcement, especially lately, has done a really good job of understanding the signs and being very trauma informed with survivors. So I don't think it's a matter of they don't have anyone to report to. I think it is still kind of misunderstood. I think specifically in East Texas, a lot of trafficking is familial, and it's hard to identify when a family member is hurting you in that way. It's hard to identify that you're a victim. And so you can't really outcry to something that you don't really identify as happening to you. So it's a very nuanced thing. And I think education is a huge piece of that. That's very needed.
What is, let's talk about trafficking and sexual assault. Do those things go hand in hand? Or are people who trafficked always sexually assaulted? And I guess one thing I want to get at, and maybe I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit here. Everybody who's trafficked, how can I put this? Is it always against their will? And I guess when you're finding prostitution and things like that, is it always, are all these people trafficked? Is it always against someone's will, you think?
So this is kind of a complicated one.
Right, yeah, and I'm not trying to throw you a curve
No,
here,
you're
but
fine.
I'm just kind of thinking about that.
It's important for people to think about and kind of think through for themselves of what these things look like. So there is a lot of nuance there, and there's a lot of crossover. So if someone is being sex trafficked, oftentimes they are being sexually assaulted time and time again. There is that aspect of prostitution and sex work, like that typically is consensual. That's someone willingly engaging in things like this. But trafficking means that there's a third party benefiting from whatever you're doing. So that's where there is some difference there. Usually a sexual assault is a one-time thing, or maybe it does happen a few times, but it's not quite as continuous as sex trafficking. Someone's not making money off of it usually.
It's usually about just a single act of violence, whereas with trafficking, it's like a system of exploitation. There's a lot of moving hands, a lot of involved parties.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to remember that labor trafficking is a thing as well, which obviously there's typically no sexual component to that. And that's something we see here in East Texas a lot too, is the labor trafficking. People being promised a better life. I'll take care of your family if you come take this job, things like that. And then it turns out to be not what it was sold to them as being.
It's interesting when we talk about human trafficking, and I never really thought about this. I've always heard of some groups saying, well, prostitution just needs to be legalized because it's a victimless crime. These women, if that's what they want to do, they should be able to do it. But from the trafficking perspective, a lot of people that are in that line of work aren't in it by choice. Right?
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's important to emphasize that, for it to be identified as trafficking, there has to be force, fraud, or coercion. So force is, threats of violence, maybe actual violence, keeping someone restrained. It's the component that you're doing this because this person is threatening violence against you or actually being violent with you. Fraud is lies and deception. So if you do this, I'll take care of your family. If you come over here and work this job, you'll have a better life. It's promising them something that will not actually happen. And then coercion is kind of the psychological manipulation. So maybe it's you're in a relationship with this person. If you love me, you'll go do this.
Yeah.
Or they have all your important documents, your birth certificate, your social security card, your passport. They hold the power because they have things that matter to you. So it has to have force, fraud, or coercion for it to be identified as trafficking officially. Whereas sexual assault, you don't have to meet that criteria for it to be called sexual assault.
Yeah. Okay. So we know what trafficking is. How do people get involved in this? And again, there's probably so many different ways and there's so many different things that we can talk about. But what are some of the tactics that traffickers use to lure unsuspecting victims into this world?
Well, I think some of the tactics they use is just kind of promising that person a better life, especially if they're I don't want to say suffering, but just struggling with finances, struggling with having a social system. Those kind of things all play a part in that. And a lot of things they do is love bomb and then promise job and money and different things.
But who are they specifically looking at targeting?
Everybody has a need, right? Every single person on the planet has needs, whether it's a roof over our head, love, a relationship, food, clothes, whatever it might be. And so traffickers want to fill that need. So they typically look for people who have a need. Is this person homeless? Do they need a roof over their head? Are they not sure where their next meal is coming from? Like, what need do they have? How can I fill it so that this person either owes me, feels obligated to do X, Y, Z? It varies, really. There's a million different ways that they can lure someone in.
I mean, are they looking like for young people, like maybe runaways, homeless? Does that even matter, really?
I think they look more for like vulnerability, and so they feel like they can feed that need, that for that person. And so, yes, the youth, the young adults, runaways, people that don't have like a lot of family support or friend support. They usually target that population. I mean,
right. So. Yeah. Okay. Family Crisis Center. Do we see a lot of trafficking victims come through our doors?
Yeah, we do see the occasional trafficking survivor. That's not a majority of the clients we serve, but we have seen a handful of them over the last few years, and I feel like those numbers are increasing, unfortunately. So,
as an agency, what are we or other agencies? I know you mentioned Unbound Now. What are these agencies doing to combat the problem? What can you do?
Support survivors. So you have to remember that people are victimized in this way because they had a need. And so how can we then fill those needs in a safe way that actually is sustainable, and so they are not relying on that abuser or that trafficker? So it really is about supporting them and meeting their needs in healthy ways, and showing them that there are people here to support them. Okay.
All right. Let's say if you're a teacher or a parent or somebody who works with, and I don't want to just say youth, because I know I think I'm always leaning towards this is just only victims or youth. I mean, I'm sure victims can be of any age or gender, but what are some signs people can look for if they maybe suspect someone may be trafficked or trafficking is going on in the area? What are some of the telltale signs? Are there any?
It's hard to say because, like Brittany said, like those vulnerabilities are really the main thing that a trafficker looks for, and anybody can have those vulnerabilities. That's any and all of us. We have different things that we need, and so it's kind of hard to say. But I mean, obviously, a lack of family support, I would say, is kind of the biggest indicator that I see with survivors that come through our doors. So for teachers specifically, like if there's a kid in your class who has maybe been in the foster care system, doesn't have that stability of some of the other kids, things like that, I think are a huge high risk factor. Yeah.
What's that, Brittany?
Their environment, like what they've grown up in, is kind of generational passed down of trauma.
Well, and I've heard some traffickers are actually the victim's family, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I know we got some things going on as far as the Family Crisis Center, some events that we have cooking for the month of January in recognition of Human Trafficking Awareness Month. What can you tell us?
So on January 26th, it's a Monday, we are doing Unseen Suffering. It's a human trafficking simulation at SFA. It'll be in the Twilight Ballroom from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's open to the public. You don't have to register. It's completely free. We did this event about 2 years ago, and it was really interesting to see everyone's reactions, because the whole point of it is to kind of walk in those shoes of a survivor. You pick a character and then you make choices, and it takes you through these different journeys, and you kind of decide how the story's going to go. But it really allows the participants to walk in the shoes of a survivor for a few minutes. And so it's open to the public. Anybody can come.
And I guess, one of the things I kind of ways I use to describe it, if you ever been involved in like a poverty simulation exercise or something like this, I guess this is kind of along the same lines, but it's geared towards the trafficking problem.
Yes. And if anybody has questions about that, y'all can just call our office, ask for Mallory Dotson or Emma Skinner, and we'd be happy to give you more information about the simulation and how y'all can get involved.
Okay. I guess that's the big thing that we have going on. Any other events or anything?
Nope,
okay.
That's our big one.
All right. Month. Awesome. Okay, don't forget, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. It's not just a problem in the metropolitan areas. It affects all of us, even in rural East Texas. All right, so Emma Skinner, Brittany Newman, thank y'all so much. Brittany,
Thank you.
we're going to have you back just to talk about you
No.
and your role here at the Family Crisis Center. Brittany's been around for a while. You just have never made it into the podcast space yet. Until today.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate it. If you have any questions, again, call our office. You can even call the toll-free hotline. That's 1-800-828-7233. If you have some questions about human trafficking or the event that we have coming up. And also encourage you to subscribe to Conversations and Connections. You can do that via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much any podcast service of your choice. Remember, be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.